What if I told you Valve's newest game has 200,000 players already? Hello, everybody, and welcome to the channel. So, what we're going to do in this video is take a look at Deadlock. Now, this has got to be the... it is the most open secret in all of gaming ever. If you don't have access to this game yet, then you can probably get access if you know somebody who has access. They can invite you to it and you can get access. Right? That's all I'm going to say about it. Now, the game is under NDA, and obviously, if you do take part in the test, you can't actually explain, you know, or show stuff off or do any of that because the game's still under development. But the question is, what is going on with this game, and what are Valve trying to do? Well, what we're going to do is take a look at this to begin with. So, this is Gabe Follower, a notorious sort of, I don't want to call him a leaker, but he's like let's say an amazing Valve fan. Everything Valve related, this guy's into. Well, he throws this out and he says, Deadlock, next Valve game, over 200,000 players have access. Now, I'm not sure how to actually confirm that because all we can see on Steam is, as you guys can see from this Steam DB screenshot, is concurrent players. We can't see total players. Anyway, concurrent online heading towards 20k. Game not even announced. How can this be real, right? Which is quite the thing, because you've got to remember, guys, this is a game that is, it's still in development. It's got a closed beta, I guess we can call it, or an early alpha, whatever we want to call this, which is active. But there are a lot of people with access to the game. So, like I said, it is kind of one of these things where it is the biggest open secret in all of gaming. It's very interesting watching it develop. Anyway, this is the actual Steam DB as of right now. We're going to refresh this, so we're going to get the up-to-date numbers. Well, look at this. You can see this is starting to ramp up. Even if we go back and look a month ago, well, look at this. You had sort of 2,000 players active there, and we're going forward to like 2,500 players or so. And then suddenly we see at the start of August, it's like that's when they started to, I guess, ramp up access to the game, and there's a lot more concurrent players. And obviously, this peaked here at 16,947, which was yesterday, 21 hours ago. Will this go higher? Probably, because it seems to be going higher as the days go on, as more people get access to the game. Now, what I want to do is we're going to go and take a look at this post over on Reddit. Now, this is from Valve, and from our Valve, I should say. And as the title says, Deadlock crossed 10,000 plus concurrent players, and it's not even announced yet. It might as well be an open beta at this point, which, yeah, I think it kind of is. I think personally what's happening, and I think it's kind of clever from Valve's perspective, is by not allowing content to be made on the game and not allowing people to, you know, stream the game, make TikToks, YouTube videos, whatever, or even talk about what they're doing and show, well, I guess show off what they're doing. It almost puts a lid on, I guess, unfinished stuff being out there, because you might say, oh, this is bad, this doesn't make any sense, but then it gets fixed a few weeks later, but then the videos are already out, they're already doing damage, the streams have already been made, the content creators have already sort of spoken, so to speak. So I think it's quite interesting, but it is a massive open test. I just realised I haven't got me with the light on. Let's turn that on. Is it broke? There we go. But yeah, it's basically a massive open test. So in this thread, though, people do talk about their experiences, which I think we can go over and we can talk about, because we do know bits and pieces about Deadlock. We do know it is Valve's third-person moba that sort of looks like a bit of Dota with a bit of Overwatch, maybe a bit of Apex Legends thrown into it. Now, what's the reaction? This is the big question. So let's just go through all of this. So you got, yeah, obviously this person's talking about it, blah, blah, blah. This, though, is sort of, I guess, a little bit of a bit of a tip. If you do want to get access, you can go to Deadlock the Game on Reddit, and you can try and request. But as I say, you probably know somebody who knows somebody who's got access to this game. In fact, before we go through this thread, if we take a look at Steam DB, and if we go to the whole of Steam DB, and we take a look at most played games, it's actually quite interesting how fast this is coming up the list. So, I mean, we're obviously these have got like 30,000 players. We're only at like 16,000 at the moment. But it's kind of funny just seeing it like there. Look, Deadlock. It's just there, and it's got 15,000 players. But I mean, it's probably already got more players, dare I say it, than Smite. I don't even know where Smite would be. I guess we could search for it, but surely Smite's got more than 5,000 players, right? I'm not seeing it though. Oh dear. Oh no, there it is. Look, so 7,000. So it's basically doubled the number of Smite players. And if you guys remember, the Smite CEO, who makes Smite? Who makes Smite? Hi-Res Studios. He was basically saying, like, this is kind of bollocks what Valve are doing, because they're almost sniping Smite 2, because Smite 2 is coming out at some point. But yeah. Anyway, let's go back and take a look at this thread and see what people are saying. So we're just gonna like read these off and then just try and gauge what people are thinking about this. Anyway, let's do it. So it's essentially like Dota 2 back in the day. It was invite only and depended on the users to invite each other. You occasionally received single-use key invites. This invite flow helps Valve grow interest for the game without slamming the servers, which is true. That is true. I agree with that. That's fine. And like Valve are obviously, when you look at Valve and the way they develop games, they're a very different company to a lot of other companies. I mean, they've got obviously the revenue generation of Steam, but they're privately owned. And Valve pay their developers absolute top whack. They spend tons of money for their staff because they want them to sort of be the best in the game. They want them to be looked after. And obviously Valve's got a weird company structure as well where there's no hierarchy. You can kind of just work on whatever you like. So if you like the idea of something, you can go over and work on that. But it's not all roses, right? Valve doesn't always make games that work. Look at Artifact, right? Look at Underlords. I mean, I think Artifact's probably the best example. That just went nowhere. So yeah, they don't always hit it off, but it looks like a Deadlock is where they're probably going to hit it off. Maybe, possibly, I don't know. I couldn't possibly comment. Anyway, I guess it's actually fun then, or is that unintentional cope by me? And this user says, it's actually really fun. I was a doubter before I started playing last night, but Valve might actually be onto something here. Same, I was a skeptic, but the gameplay absolutely converted me. I've only played for about an hour, and I think this is the first MOBA I've played, but I'm pretty happy with how it plays so far. It's kind of a lot at first, and I'm sure Valve will tweak the UI, so there's not so much in your face 100% of the time. But regardless, it's still really fun, kind of like a third-person TF2. And then people saying, how the hell did you get invited? Which you just need to know somebody, and you can get invited. Despite me not being the intended audience for Deadlock, and only playing against hard bots with a friend for an hour, it's really fun. It even has that Valve feel to it. While I won't be coming back for seconds, I can definitely see this becoming popular once it releases. So this person doesn't like it for some reason, but can see why it would be popular, but doesn't really elaborate. So yeah. Anyway, core gameplay is already fun, but again, it's an alpha state, so players should not expect polish. I've already put in over 100 hours. So this to me is what's going to be quite interesting, because there's people out there who've had access to this game for a long time. I couldn't possibly comment on that, but they've had access to it for a long, long time. And they're going to be, whenever the game is, let's say, public, they're going to be going into this with like a lot of experience, shall we say, especially maybe potentially possibly certain esports players. Anyway, I digress. Anyway, I've already put in over 100 hours. It's just enough MOBA to appeal to the MOBA players, but it simplifies things in a way where anyone can pick it up. It will take time to learn, but nowhere near as much as something like Dota. And this is the thing where I start thinking, you know what, actually, yeah. Because I look at my experience with Dota. I've got 70 hours in Dota. I've got more hours in other games. Why don't I play Dota? Now, you know what? I played a shitload of League of Legends. I played League when it first came out, right? I actually remember at the time getting my friends to play it, and they were like, what is this? It's free. You don't have to pay it. It don't make no sense. What's going on? But we played Heroes and Newerth, and then we went into League. So I've got like, I don't even know how many hours in League, but this was like, I mean, it's over 10 years ago now. It's got to be. I was just playing it all day, every day, non-stop, right? And then I got to a point where I just was like, no more League, no more MOBA, and then I left. I did try Dota 2 throughout the years, but I could never get into it. It was impenetrable, too complicated. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know about the items. I didn't know anything. So the news that this game is already converted, like this player, for example, because it's not as steep. Maybe it's got more emphasis on aiming, for example, than on just pure knowing what to do at any given moment in time. The Dota brain. That's probably a good sign. So this user actually goes on to ask another question and says, I don't think this person actually responds. But no, I can't see that person responding, so I guess that doesn't make any sense. But anyway, I think it will be a hit if they add more game modes. I think it will probably die if they try to treat the current map like they do to Dota 2's. Now, and I'm guessing that's just because there's one map in Dota 2, and that's it. Possibly, I don't know. Gameplay seems fun, but some heroes seem anti-fun and created towards esport. I mean, it's Valve, right? It's going to be, this will be an esport, this game. It's going to absolutely be an esport. That's just going to happen, right? So see what I mean? Like another. I'm 400 hours in. Like, what the hell? I'm 400 hours in, and I still can't wait to play every night. This game is really sick. New take on the MOBA genre. Now, of course, obviously, these could just be people making this up, but I think given the caliber I guess the quantity of invites that have gone out, and we can see from things, just like looking at SteamDB, where we can see there's already like an astronomical amount of people playing this game. I mean, for something that's supposedly just in a test phase, it's crazy. So I think these comments can be believed, and also you can dig deep on the internet and you will find gameplay footage. Obviously, I'm not going to show any of it in this video. I don't want to break NDAs. The game is not, it's not for public consumption at the moment, but there is a lot of stuff out there if you want to dig deep and search for gameplay, so you can get an idea of what's going on with the game and how it plays. But yeah, this person says, MOBA fans seem to be enjoying it, but if you don't like MOBAs, it's not going to win you over. I've never had a good time with them, but after playing for a few hours the other night, it just feels to me like Team Fortress 2 or your class-based shooter of choice, but with all the fun over-designed out. Okay, valid point. It's curious how they don't even announce it yet, at least. Yeah, it is true. Let's have a look. I was skeptical of this game myself since I played all variations of Paragons, and it looked like third-person MOBA doesn't work. Smite is not that popular too, but damn, Gaben is onto something. Game is super fun. Yeah, it's pretty fun, but I'll give it a month full after release until the cheaters take over. Yeah. Somebody even saying here, I'm pretty sure there's aimbots already. Again, I've got 40 hours in the game, and I've seen people not miss a single target. Ice Frog seems to really know what he's doing when it comes to balancing. My problem with Predecessor and all those other games is that they lean too heavily onto the skills and don't make use of the 3D environments as much. Meanwhile, this one actually emphasizes on movement and mechanical shooting skill too. Some of the greatest aimers I've ever played against were in TF2 and CSGO, so it's going to be really cool for those kind of people to come over and mix it up with the macro handling of a MOBA. Now, this is a really interesting comment, right? Because as much as people want to shit on Overwatch 2, and well, let's just say Overwatch, it does require a degree of like mechanical aim, which is not really equivalent to like a tac shooter, right? It's more like Quake in a lot of ways, right? It's like an arena shooter. And it looks to me like this game is similar to that. So you can see why there is a crossover there. But I think what's interesting about this comment is it almost puts forward the sort of hypothesis that this is a game that if you do like action-based games, you do like shooter games. I mean, it's a third-person shooter, but you do like shooters. You like that movement element. So maybe you've got your Overwatch for the sheer arena shooter and the abilities, I guess. Then you've got Apex for your movement. You throw that in there. Then what happens if you say, well, you've got the Dota items or even potentially like League-style items, but it's obviously going to be more Dota because we know Ice Frog is working on this game, and Ice Frog obviously is the lead balance dev for Dota 2. And it's Valve, so it's obviously going to be Dota-inspired with the item builds. But it's bringing those elements together, and it's like, is there a mid-ground? And I think this is the play Valve are going for. Is there this gap of like players that maybe don't want to go too far into a MOBA because it's too, let's say, technical, too macro, but they're willing to go a little bit into that, maybe for some basic item builds, but then they also want an action-based game. They want something that they can rely on their speed of reactions, their movement, and things like that, which obviously in a MOBA, you're just clicking a mouse, right? I don't know, obviously, you've still got to move, you've got to know when to use your abilities and all of that stuff, but it's not the same as actually being in a 3D world, is it? And moving up and down, or a three-dimensional world. Well, I guess Dota's three-dimensional, whatever. You can go up and down, right? So there could be a space for this, but then on the other side of the argument, it's the whole thing of like, this is almost like a game ChatGPT would build. If you said, take all the most popular games and then give me a game, it would say, why don't you make a third-person hero MOBA? You know what I mean? It's like, oh, yeah. So I can get where people are coming from with that. Anyway, let's keep going through these comments. I think they're quite interesting. I'm not a MOBA fan at all, and I tend to avoid this genre, but I do enjoy hero shooters quite a lot. Do you think I will enjoy this? You might, because even though it has all of the MOBA aspects, it's still third-person shooter. You got heroes that focus on sniping and precise aiming. If you can't aim, you can play heroes that don't focus on it that much. If you're a god aimer, so like Shroud, there are ways to use that too. But fights are mostly close combat. There is a huge bullet drop-off. Utilizing spells, farm, and items is huge, like in all MOBAs. Now, the bullet drop-off point, I mean, if you think about what this game is trying to be, that has to be in the game. You can't just have the ability to, if you can see someone, you can do full maximum damage to them. think of things like turrets as well. Like imagine if you could just, like if you're playing League, if you could just like destroy the turret from your base, it would be like, what the hell is this? It would be insane. So you can see why that's in this game. So it does make sense. But it's interesting there to think that if you can aim, then that's going to be powerful in this game, because obviously that has got absolutely no bearing on your ability to play a MOBA. Like your aim just doesn't matter. I mean, precision of clicking, sure, and maybe you could say high APM helps, but actual raw mechanical aim doesn't matter. Any melee or stealth-based heroes, I usually gravitate towards those. Spy in TF2, Reaper in Overwatch, sneaking around. There is one with an invis skill and some bruises too that prefer close combat. Any combat is more or less medium to close, since bullet drop-off is quite big. Yeah. There are definitely melee builds. One hero specifically has an awesome kit for melee. Been playing is almost exclusively because of it. Probably a fan of a very popular anime. Anyway, is it me, or is this just the exact opposite of how Valve handled Artifact's beta? Now, I know Artifact was announced, and it was announced at TI, and we'll get onto this in a second, because, in fact, well, let's do it now. I can't say we'll get onto it in a second when we can do it right now. But they announced this at one of the TIs, I think. But this is the next TI, so it's actually coming up, right? So 2024's TI is in September. The group stage is September the 4th to September the 5th. So this is like in a month. And it makes sense if you look back at this and you see this build up here at the start of August, really ramping up the amount of players that potentially come September, we're going to have like an open beta, or everybody has got access to the game in Steam, which would make sense. But anyway, going back to this is potentially where they would announce it. Not at the start of the event, but possibly at the end. So I guess September the 10th, or maybe September the 15th either, when before the finals kick off, that might be when they've got like a flashy trailer, they've got a blah, 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 and then they show off essentially their new MOBA game, which would make sense. So that's probably where I would bet we get some sort of an announcement. If we don't, then again, I don't know. And it's Valve. We could just get an announcement literally today. Who even knows? But yeah, let's just carry on going through this thread just to see what other people are saying. So this person gives a bit of a breakdown. It's fun, but it does need work, which it'll get since it's still quite a bit from release. I think it definitely needs balancing adjustment in the characters. I also feel the map is pointlessly big, but that's probably something that won't be changed. Though I wish there was a sprint button, maybe there is. The UI needs an adjustment, and the moment-to-moment gameplay is a bit much to take in with how it's portrayed, but the core is very good. And I don't doubt that it'll be very polished once it's released. And this user actually, I was trying to read that off while also reading this. How can I even do that? Anyway, there is a dash button with shift, and there is a sprint mechanism. I like the size of the map because there is so much mobility. Knowing how to move around the map becomes a skill. So again, that's the thing, right? TF2 movement was a very, it was a skill, right? If you could move well, we've all seen like incredible soldier players, rocket jumping and all that stuff. You were strong, right? So it looks like we're getting that in this, which is pretty interesting. And it will be one of those things, I think, where you can probably tell a good player from a bad player. Someone knows how to effectively move, which says you've got things like a dash button with shift, and there's a sprint mechanism. Maybe you can combo them together, but it'll just be one of those things where you'll see better players use the map better and move around quicker. In fact, this user even says that. Yeah, definitely. My second match went much better as I learned to move around more efficiently. Yeah, so I think that goes without saying. It's really fun. People who were playing it before weren't lying. Yes, the game looks unfinished, but it's pretty fun. Another person asking about invites. Okay, I did not like everyone hating on the game when it came out. It's Valve. In all likelihood, it's going to be an amazing game with a great world, great gameplay, and great characters. And all of that is why I'll not even be looking at this game, because I know it will be completely abandoned. Valve, whatever. That's just a rando Reddit comment. Okay. Somebody asking for access. Okay. So I do actually have, there is another thread, which I believe could be this. Yeah, so on games. This was actually, they were cross-posting the one we were just looking at, but I think we'll just take a look at some of the top comments here. Hopefully there's some like breakdown as to how the game plays and stuff. So this user's just saying, imagine Valve never actually acknowledges it. It's just on Steam. It basically is already anyway. You know what I mean? It's like anyone can get this. It's so crazy to me. It's weird because obviously you can imagine, like from my perspective, if a new game comes out and you want to play it, and like for me, you want to make content on it, or if you're a streamer, you want to stream it, or even if you just like, just anybody and you want to stream it to your friends, It's like you can't, but you can actually just invite them and play with you if you've got access. It's so strange. Yeah, I don't think Marvel Rivals and Concord, if it released at the same time, yeah, that's fine. I don't know, don't really care. That's not really okay. Valve, okay. So just another person highlighting SteamDB, talking about it, ramping up access. Is it still USA only? I'm in Asia. It only takes 10 seconds to find a match. EU's got matchmaking as well. They've got NA, Europe, Asia, Oceania. So this must be getting really close to launch or announcement. I mean, like, they're ramping up the users. They've got multiple servers all over the world. Yeah. This user says it's very polished and far along, though a few characters are still in the process of a materials pass, and the environment has a handful of temp assets. I did get a kick out of one character's temp lore blurb being just, this guy is an asshole. I've been super impressed with the game so far. I'm curious how well a new MOBA in 2024-2025 will do, though. So this user says, I think it's fun, but in no way would I say it's polished, not even close to polished by Valve standards. Okay, interesting. So Dota 2 in fall of 2011 was also full of first version temp unfinished stuff. That was also when they started ramping up invites for the first time. Dota 2 had its official launch in mid-2013, but it was pretty much finished by the end of 2012. Everybody who wanted to play was already playing, and the hero pool was finally in a good state. Now, Deadlock is probably in a similar state to Dota 2 in November 2011. Maybe a bit rougher, even though the invites are being handed out faster. It will probably also have a longer beta phase, but I guess people will mostly have access by the end of the year, then it releases in 2025. It's polished in the sense that the game is fully playable without noticeable bugs. And then someone says, that is not polished, that is working. Looking at gameplay, there are quite a few rough edges. Been playing this game every night for a week. It's super fun with friends. Team fights, late game, are crazy good and chaotic fun. I mean, that's Overwatch, right? So if that's true, that's Overwatch. So if you're an Overwatch fan, you look at this and think, holy shit, this is like, could this be Overwatch? I mean, when you think of Overwatch, you know, we were sort of led to believe by the devs that they were going to implement an item system for PvE. I even played like a very early version of that back in 2019 at BlizzCon. But like, you had the potential there for items that would affect the character's builds. It almost seems like this might be that if you want that. Because if team fights are crazy good and chaotic, you've got the Overwatch element, but then you've got the added element of item builds and all of that stuff coming in. Could be insane. MOBA shooter is a different genre in my opinion too. Plus, this is Valve, a massive company. I'm sure they also learned for Artifact. I mean, yeah, like this user says, no, MOBA shooter, I mean, Monday Night Combat, Super Monday Night Combat, Battleborn. You could even possibly throw Smite into that. I know Smite technically isn't that, but it is kind of third-person MOBA. So the lines are getting blurred. I think Paragon was, right, from Unreal, which quickly got cancelled because they made Fortnite. I actually did a brand deal for Paragon. That's why I remember it. Amazing. Anyway, we'll read one last comment off and then we'll leave it as that, because like I said, a lot of this can just sort of be people just posting shit, who knows. But it does seem like a lot of people have got access to this because, like I said, you can look at SteamDB and you're like, okay, there's a lot of people playing at the moment. Where were we? Were we on this? Are we even on the right page? I'm not even sure I'm on the right page. Yeah, I think this was the one, right? They're all so similar. I think this is the one, though. Anyway, I'm really surprised they allow so many players in. This game is not even in an alpha stage, all features ready, and a lot in this game is still experimental. Even most models are still placeholders. Sure, Dota 2 also soft launch, unfinished, but the gameplay loop and art was ready, finished, just needed more heroes. This game feels like it still needs 1 to 2 years. Oh, hang on. This person says, hang on, what's this? Yoshi, the Valve dev for Deadlock, said all art and even character designs are still temporary. So there are artists in the forums posting their proposed final design, and they're very interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think, guys, when we look back, or we sort of look at this, and we look at this game and what this could be, we know what this game is, because you can go out there and you can Google and you can see footage. You can, you know, we know it's a third-person shooter MOBA with items, and it's in a new world, and it's got heroes. The question will be, when are they going to announce this as an open beta? The other question will be, how will this game actually, you know, our players... I'll leave the question to you guys. Are you actually excited for this? Is the prospect exciting of a third-person, hero-based MOBA with items on what people are saying is a big map? Is that interesting to people? I don't know. On paper, like I said, it sounds like a chat GPT game, but also we read what people are saying about the game. They're like, this game's great. I mean, like I said, you can go out and look at the Twitter feeds of various esports players that potentially maybe played Overwatch in the past. You can see their thoughts on it, making comments indirectly about Deadlock. You've got loads of stuff over on Reddit you can look at, loads of stuff on the internet. And if you want to dig deeper, you can find more stuff. But it's very interesting. I think for me, it's interesting to see a game launch almost like this, because really this game is launched. I mean, like I said, this is like 17,000 people basically playing it right now. Yeah, this is it's more than most games on Steam. You know what I mean? It's like the people are playing this game. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting stuff. All right, guys, thank you for watching the video. I will keep you updated with all things Deadlock, and who knows? Maybe we'll get a launch date soon, and then we can go from there. All right, guys, thank you for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed that. If you did, let me know what you think about this in the comments below. I'll catch you lovely lot on the next one. See you soon.